Hey everyone, this is Brano, and I wanted to do a video where I talk about the tutorial design of Heal to Death. And I wanted to talk about it because I'm really proud of it. I think I did a really good job on the tutorial. The ideal tutorial is the Mario level 1-1, where it sort of teaches you how to play the game passively, and I would try to take a lot of that into Heal to Death, where I'm just trying to drip feed you passively one mechanic at a time. But with Heal to Death, it is a very, very complicated game, and it's a healer roguelike. So if I just get this up at the moment and show you guys this. This is Heal to Death, and you can kind of see right there you've got a MMORPG party frames where you're healing people, and this trying to do the Mario 1-1 tutorial design for this has been incredibly difficult. So I'd like to go through this game and what I had to do in order to achieve a tutorial where the vast majority of people, even those who have never played an MMORPG before, were able to get through. So the first thing that you'll meet is the introduction. So one of the pieces of feedback I got was, I don't understand why I'm playing the game. I don't understand why I'm in this world. And this is part of the reason as to why I paid a voice actor. I did a cinematic cutscene, well, cinematic, quote unquote. And I tried to provide a story for the game, because it is a piece of confusion. Why am I playing this game? Why am I here? What is the goal? Why do I care about doing these things? If people don't understand why they're playing the game, it can very easily put them off. So I think in story-based games you can slowly explain it over time, but when you have a mechanical-based game, you need to kind of front-load it to explain this is why you were playing the game. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to explain it through gameplay. It's a mechanical-based game. So I had to spend a lot of time in order to explain the why. So now we're in the game. One of the benefits of being an indie is that I can expect that this is not your first video game ever. So you'll see I've got this objective system. This was made when I thought that I could have like quests and stuff. I wasn't entirely sure what the game was going to be like, but I was able to reuse this objective system because, to be honest with you, I barely used it outside of the tutorial. But I was able to use this as my tutorial system to give you instructions on how to proceed to the next thing. And you'll see here, the first thing I'm trying to do is I've got a lot of the user interface hidden. All I've got is my health, my mana, and this bar right here, which is meant to refer to mana regenerating faster. And my goal here was to minimize the amount of stuff that you see within the game. Now, automatically I've got the damage meter here. This is actually not meant to show. This is an option which by default is turned off, so I'm just going to hide that. But yeah, there's already, though, so many different elements, and I'm doing my best to hide everything. So something I do is I drip feed elements throughout the tutorial. So the first thing people would do is move and turn. Now, this is one of those things where most people will be like, oh my god, this turning is really, really highly accelerant. So hopefully they will go into the menu and go into gameplay and then change the turn sensitivity. People have done this a lot, so I can say at least people are knowing that they can engage with the menus and options. So you would move, and that's all good, and from here you get to the first objective. Now, I need to teach people what the main mechanic is. So, and so you kind of have to like heal yourself. So you heal, and there. Now, people think that, oh, I've healed myself once, I'm fine. It's like, no, I really want you to heal like a couple of times just to make sure that you truly understand the mechanic. This used to be like 3 times where you used to have to heal yourself 2 to 3 or 4 times, but now it's 2 times. So that's been designed that way in order to make sure that you do this. So this is where we got to our first big challenge. So this is a game about healing other people, but your heals can also damage these skeletons. And I knew from the very beginning that I have to make the player heal these skeletons in order to know that they can damage skeletons with heals, because eventually, like, if you don't do that, you're not going to know in any other possible gameplay sense, because your party members can kill enemies for you. So this was a pain in the butt, because this right here, the fact that the enemy is now moving towards you freaked people out. This used to be at a faster movement speed, and you can kind of see this enemy is not doing a lot of damage and does not have a lot of HP. But this freaked people out, and when this was moving really quickly, this just completely short-circuited people's games. I think it short-circuited people's brains, and they just couldn't work it out. I think the Indie Game Clinic described it as like a Dark Souls tutorial, and was saying, it's too hard, it's too hard. I'm like, this is all that's happening, this really weak enemy. But what I was able to do is turn this into a crippled skeleton, to where it's really slow. So it's like, okay, I can run away because I already know how to do this. Now, let me catch my breath and think a little bit about what I got to do. And eventually, once I gave people that, they were able to work it out. And yeah. So from there, you get another ability, which is Greater Heal. Once again, I'm drip feeding the person as many, like, slowly abilities one by one. I'm trying to segment this one thing at a time, and it's not always possible. So from here, I've had to use text to explain this, because the game itself doesn't explain that you can't cast while moving very well, and there is a big contrast, because the lesser heal, you're basically able to do this like completely freely, and that's easy. Where this, people getting like really confused. They couldn't work out why this was going on, even with the X, even with all that feedback. I gave up, and I had to use text to explain what Greater Healing was. So eventually, hopefully people would try this out, and even if they didn't, they would often kind of like freak out, accidentally aggro this enemy, but they would use it on the secondary enemy. So if you use Greater Healing here, it one-shots the enemy, and hopefully you can see this. See that it is a worthwhile ability. Now, with these enemies cast area effects as well as projectile attacks. So I had to use text as well, because in MMORPGs, when a spell projectile is cast, it's normally a homing missile. And what people were doing is they were trying to, it's like, alright, they could understand not standing in bad, but with these poison bolts, they would cast and they would freak out because they would constantly try to dodge it. And so I had to use this text to explain, no, you have to actually just tank it and accept it. Now, from there, we finally have our party members, and also a spell. Now, you've gotten used to 2 spells now, and this screen used to be way further back, but I decided, you know, I have a free, kind of like, I have a bit of breathing room. I'd like to introduce this now rather than later, because there is a little bit of a gap in breathing room for you to kind of work out what each of these mechanics are. And of course, there's a lot going on. There's so much information to absorb, but it is a pick-free system. So we can just pick one of these, and hopefully that should be good, and they can work out how the spell works here. So people would mostly work out how to do this. So if you didn't target the knight, you would have to click on the knight, and quite often they would do this. And then also I had text as well. Once again, it is a non-diegetic screen, and it's really difficult to teach the user interface. So I have to constantly remind people, hover over the target to select, and then this target selection can be changed to click in the gameplay settings. This means nothing to most people. So with that said though, it's meant to be sort of ignorable. It's just like I got a lot of complaints about, I want this to be click, and I'm like, alright, we've made it click. Anyway, this at least was enough to describe how revive works. So people were mostly able to work out that, oh, this is how I revive the knight. Now, from here, no one mouses over the decomposed debuff, unfortunately, but they do know that they have to heal this knight to full. Some people just instinctively do it, other people need to be forced into doing it. So from there, you'll heal your knight, and this does bring up a confusion about, oh, I'm gonna have to heal people up to full every single time we're out of combat, where there is actually out of combat healing. It's just a debuff that was preventing it. Now, this boot right here, this causes some confusion, but it gives you like a speed buff, and you're going, oh, what's this? Why did I go quickly? But people are mostly able to work out after it respawns that, oh, it's just a speed buff. Okay, cool. I can work that out. That's easy enough to understand. And then we go here. And from there, you're getting to see what the knight is able to do, and it's not doing a lot of damage. And so they're going to be playing around, just saying, oh, do I heal the knight, or do I damage the enemies? And they kind of work out that they're going to do a bit of both. And so they do that, and they struggle a bit. But they kill an enemy, things become a lot easier, the knight takes a lot less damage, and they can proceed. And this seems to work pretty well. We got mana regenerates faster when you don't spend it. People still don't quite understand what this means, but it's giving them like a small clue into how the game works. Once again, it is unfortunately text. I have not made the perfect tutorial, but I have had to teach people as many things as possible. So this is where you would normally get the first upgrade, but I decided to pass it, and now we've got a chest, pretty easy to understand. We can see that, okay, cool, we've got a bunch of stuff. We got a new item. Well, we got a new level, and therefore new abilities. We've got upgrades. We can see that there's ranking of upgrades here as well. Let's get triage because it's an amazing ability. And from here, alright, I'm stuck until I have to do the next objective. So I've taught them how chests work. They already know how upgrades work. And now I need to teach them how armor works. So I've got this square trying to pinpoint this is where you need to go. And so also this, and these all had to be like, I had to do so much UI alteration in order to make sure that these objectives would fit. And from here, it's basically just equip the armor. And so I've tried my best in order to teach people how to do it. You can see there is a yellow highlight there to indicate this is, but people were still gonna like fail. They're like, oh, what's going on? Like, oh, okay, cool, I can work this out. And once again, it's just like, it's enough clues. People don't get it immediately, but they do eventually get it. And so I can do that. And from there, I can click on that, and I can proceed to the next level. And at this point, people are going like, oh, cool, alright, I passed the tutorial. But there's still so much more tutorial left that needs to be done, because there's so many mechanics in this game. Alright, from here, I can see that I've got a lot more people on my party frame, which is cool. And I can see right here, we've got fire mages. And this is my first kind of showcase to see like, alright, we've got fire that I can dodge, and that's cool. But once again, after my first encounter, I know that I need to do a little bit more damage as a healer, and so that's what we'll do. Because our tank is kind of shit, and I can kill them pretty easily. Alright, so I'm introduced to the mage. I'm not going to teach you how to revive anymore. You already know how to do that. I'm just going to assume that you did pay attention, and almost everyone did. Looking at gameplay feedback, I can see that people actually did, and I can say, oh, here is my mage. Now, a lot of people do not see this pack of mobs, but what they do see is like, oh, I've got a bunch of mobs, oh my crap, and then the mage just destroyed them, and they go, what the hell just happened? What? And then quite often they look at the spells, and they're going to be able to identify that there's actually a little bit more going on with these classes. They have abilities. You know, this mage has Firebolt, but they also have Flame Spike, and this is what did all the damage. So from there, it's like, oh, my mage is awesome. And from there, they got a larger pack, and the mage is once again just able to destroy the vast majority of them, and that's great. All right, cool. Now we're kind of starting to get into a flow state. We got our next party member that we're resurrecting, the Ranger. Fantastic. All right, cool. More damage abilities. And so this is where we start to empathize healing damage left. But we can see right here, oh, everyone's sort of taking damage. Oh shit. And it's still designed for you to beat it, even though you do very nothing. But it is kind of like a, oh god, I actually have to pay attention. It's scary. These bars go down quite quickly because a lot of people are taking damage. And if you're not playing the game well, you're going to feel threatened. But at the same time, you get through it. You can see like, hey, my party members are now actually doing a lot of damage. We get our next upgrade. Alright, cool. I'm going to get instant heal. These are all like random, by the way. And we got our next chest. So I've got a new one. Let's go for premium. And we got our new things. Now, they're often going to be like, oh, what am I going to do here? Oh, I got to do... Alright, the first thing I need to do is get the spell. And so they already know how to do that. They see that that was being highlighted. Alright, cool. And then they click on spell. And from there, they already kind of know there's slots. And with this yellow thing, it's like, oh, okay. Oh, I can equip my ranger with spells. And that's easy. Now, this is a piece of game design that I'm really proud of, where I introduce a problem before giving you the solution. So you'll see right here, it's like, oh, my mages and my rangers have just got hit by that strong ability. Like, I really want them to get out of that. It's like, get the hell out of the bad, please. And so most people identify that that is a problem that they're going to have to deal with in the future. But they don't have the tools for that yet. And so it's like, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to heal through it. But once again, I'm just focusing on keeping people alive. I may do some extra damage here and there. And then I've got my final party member. And this is a part of game design that I'm not proud of, where I front load a bunch of party information to you all at once. This is overwhelming. Now, the reason I did it like this is, number one, I was kind of running out of time to teach people. And number two, in order to organically teach all 4 of these abilities that I'm about to give you, it was going to extend a tutorial by 5 or 10 minutes. So I had to accept this. But with that said, it does teach you that you do need to play around this. I'm not expecting people to like really pay that much attention to it, but it does provide you, and the people who do pay attention to you, to this, will identify that I've just provided you the tools with the solution. So now, instead of your party members standing in bad, you can move them out of bad with move to area, or follow healer by doing this. Now, the degrees of success on this are I think they're above 50%, but that took so much time for that to be above 50%. It's not much above it. I'm going to say it's 50-50 whether people work this out. And once again, we get more stuff from the chest, and we get to our first mob. And so people will see that, oh, okay, my dudes are staying bad. Now, if they paid attention to what I had made, they would realize, oh, I need to get them out. So let's move them out of bad. And they'll do this because people are taking a lot of damage. Alternatively, they die and they have to resurrect them. And I'm constantly beating them over the head. You need to move out of bad. You need to use these abilities. Now, not everyone gets this. Some people just completely ignore. They're so overwhelmed by the rest of the game. But you can kind of see I've drip-fed everything. I've done as much as I can to try and slowly get people into learning how to play the game. Now, that was an easy pack. This is a much more difficult pack. Now, once again, you're not meant to die here. I haven't seen someone die since like some of the updates I did, but this is meant to like be a struggle in where I've seen, oh, the amount of spell canceling where like people freak out is outstanding. Like, once again, it's like, you're not meant to die here. If you do nothing, everything kind of falls in place. But people freak out. And also, since these are here, it's like, oh, I need to get them out of here. Like, I've really done everything I can to try to pretend like there's a threat. And quite often, people will get really close to dying by trying to avoid the mechanic and then making everything worse off by avoiding the mechanic poorly. It's a tough one. But, you know, it is what it is. With that said, though, they do know that they have to avoid poisons and that they need to use some of these spells in order to dodge poisons. Most people at this point have worked this out, that they do kind of need to use this in order to do something. Like, in order to survive mobs with bad. Alright. This is the introduction to the shop, and they slowly learn, oh, this is what this stuff is for. But what are the coins for? Well, they'll eventually work that out. And from here, they can see that there's all these items. There's armor, there's a holy hand grenade, you got mana potions and all that. You got new weapons, and yeah, we're just gonna get the holy hand grenade. There's a cool little animation with the souls going into the jar. And from there, they're able to proceed. Now, at this point, they're still trying to learn this. Now, hopefully, they'll be able to use some of these spells. But they could also use the Holy Hand Grenade here, and they can kind of see we got the stun animation and all that. And that just makes this pack a lot easier. Now, all of these enemies have particular, like, special abilities. Most people will ignore them, but all of them have something that you do kind of have to care about. And so, yeah. Now, from here, we would hopefully get all our fragments, and we would see a line here as well on the map, the exit. But you also see a bunch of exits, well, a bunch of stuff here. It's like, oh, I'm gonna explore this. There's bound to be treasure, and there is. So you go through this turn, and what's gonna happen is that people find a dead end and then a speed boost to get back. But in patch 1.1, I decided to add a little treat for people who are being a little bit observant, which is this little thing here where you click on it and this goes up and you get a secret chest. I think I've seen one person notice this ever in a playthrough. I do watch people's playthroughs, by the way, just to see, did this work? Is the design working? Are people getting through? But I am just going to say, the people who make Let's Play channels are significantly better at video games than the average person. Like, having to watch people play in real life, oh my god. versus watching people who play games like as either their main hobby. It's night and day difference. But you'll see here, like, oh, cool, I do have a chest. That's nice. And so, all right, fantastic. I got more stuff here, and that's pretty good. I get the speed boost. It brings me back to where I was quicker. You know, it's all good. Now, from here, we take the other thing here. I decided, you know what? You've done enough. And by the way, there is another wall here. I have yet to see a single person click on this. I have not seen a playthrough where anyone noticed this, but I'm just like, oh, click on it. Please notice this. Please notice it. But no one does. So that is a little bit of a, well, I attempted. I tried. And so here we go into the next level, and this is the final one, and people are like, alright, I'm getting the hang of this, and it is going to be the final boss level, but they don't know this yet, and they got Slay the Boss. They'll notice that they've got this party management screen, and most of them work this out quite quickly, and it's like, okay, I actually am pretty happy with this. Maybe they'll swap the mage for the ranger and stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm hiding this. So I got this party member panel right here where you can move stuff, and this was added because it was a popular request, not because I felt it was needed, but I'm like, you know what, it's a nice little thing for people who care about this stuff. I'm happy to add it. Now, the thing that people completely ignore is the Nekoeri. This was not obvious, as this they're completely fixated on who is this big guy right here. But if they did notice it, and I think like maybe 10 or like 20% of people noticed it, that you'll get some details on what this Firebone Lieutenant is. And even if they miss it, there is a book in the town that can inform them of what the enemies do. So they just go in and they hear different music. It's like, okay, I have to take this seriously. So maybe they'll do some damage to the lieutenant. This is, once again, a boss that you're not meant to lose. Well, I think actually you do need to do like 1 or 2 abilities to kill the Firebone Lieutenant, because I did boost its health from 20,000 to 30,000 just to make the fight longer, but I also made it so that the Firebolt volley did a bit less. And you'll see as well, the Stuart's finality, the Stalwart's finality does make a big difference. And we have an Ocarina of Time portal right here to say, this is done. So you port up, and you go into the overworld. And from there, you're introduced to the rest of the world. It's defogged. You'll notice that you've got all this unlocked, and from there, it's like, alright, this is the main zone where this town looks friendly, and so you're probably going to go in here first. I've got the barracks, the inn in the monastery, but I've also got the library, where you'll get to see information on things. So you'll get to see like, oh, here are all these bosses and stuff, but they'll probably ignore that because like it's just too much information. And they'll notice that they can't build the barracks. So this is intentional. I don't want multiple buildings, but I do want sort of like this to be a thing. Maybe I could have made the inn 200 gold and the monastery 50 gold, or potentially I could reverse them. Either way, I wanted like these to say, hey, these are about upgrades. Players are not going to understand what these are yet, but after their first run, they will. And they do. I've seen gameplay footage of people working this out. I had to add various different effects for these two things for people to differentiate between them. Eventually, people did work out right here that, oh, both of these are clickable. And from there, they're able to buy a new spell, which is cool. And after that, they can get out and enter the first dungeon from here. And that is basically the introduction to my game. And something they often do not work out is that you get to pick 3 damage dealers until they finally pick it. And it's like, oh, which one am I going to choose? And then they realize that they choose this, but they have to actually choose all 3 of them. Anyway, that is the introduction to Heal to Death. This introduction took so many iterations, and as simple as it does seem, I really do think that you have to iterate and iterate and iterate. If you are going to make a tutorial, I recommend that you make it early and you iterate the hell on it. Start by making it as show don't tell as possible, and then walk backwards. The Mario levels of 1.1 are, I would say, the ideal, but they're not. But the ideal is not always pragmatic. Anyway, I hope this can show you some of the thought process that was making a tutorial for a complicated game, and maybe there is something you can take for it for your own games, but that's it for me. Have a good one. Bye.